Welcome to Electricprenuer Secrets, the Electrician podcast. I'm Clay Newmeyer. This is my esteemed co-host, Joseph, the sales bot Lucani, and we're here having a great time trying to help you rise and really helping you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level service. Joseph, is it true that yesterday I got compared to a celebrity?
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. I love it. It was actually really, really funny. It was Jeff Goldblum. Like,
I
of
did
all
not see that
people.
coming. Yeah. One of our clients said, "Hey, every time you speak, I'm hearing Jeff Goldblum. You're like the young Jeff Goldblum." Like, really? I had to look it up and confirm. I'm still not convinced, but I did the apartment.com advertisement in the chat just for their pleasure.
It passes. It was passable. I could
It
dig
was
it.
passable.
It was passable.
I
It
can't
was
remember the
passable.
slogan. Do you remember the slogan?
The slogan, if I can remember, is change your apartment, change your world.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Apartments.com. Change your apartment, change your world.
Yep.
I don't know. Jeff Goldblum, anyone? Not
Either way.
for an applause anyway. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say
We've
it's just
got a
you or
cool
not.
show. We've got a pretty cool show because we're actually going to give people a little scoop on the inside. As we say, I mean, we give strategy away. Strategy is not the problem. We're going to talk a bit about the 3S problem and this reverse order that we've talked about before, which is really the strategy, story, and state management.
Yep.
And which of those really puts wins on the board, puts runs on the board, and which of those is kind of falling short and is more relative to shiny object syndrome. A big piece of this comes from, honestly, sometimes there's even people that let's say aren't quite believers in us and our movement. And so this will also address that. And we aim to also talk about something called an ask hole, which is difficult to manage in every business. But as we unravel this strategy a bit today, and you guys get to learn from this, also take from this and be able to use this learning, this lesson, and really audit, okay, how much value am I giving my customers? And do we have a value ascension model in play? All right. So where should we get started?
Man, I think the only way anyone would understand what an asshole is by understanding how we do what we do and why we'd consider anyone an asshole. So I think the first thing we should talk about is, how do we do business? What is the purpose of what we do? Like, Clay, why in God's green earth are we giving away free strategy? What could possibly be the end result? What's the goal?
Yeah, so we did this exercise once upon a time where we asked on a live just like this, and people responded, and we said, "Hey, what do you want to improve in your business?" And someone said, "Well, I want to improve sales." Right? So we actually went to Google just to illustrate this problem. Went to Google and searched how to improve sales in my small business. How many results do you think we got?
It was like hundreds of thousands, and it was in like a fraction of a second. It wasn't even quick. It was like boom.
2.5 billion in half a second. Right? And to give that context, like we've said this before too, if you earned $1 a second, you'd have a million in 11.6 days. A billion would take you 32 years, right? So just to give that context, how big of a jump? We're talking 32 years from 12 days. So a million to a billion. Google came up with 3.5 billion results in half a second. And they all work. Every one of them has some degree of evidence and truth to it. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that the strategy is that accessible. And there are more millionaires than ever, granted, but a million's not a lot anymore, is it?
No, I mean, I remember when I was talking about retiring and people were like, well, you need $1 million. It's like, oh, good. It's like, well, now to retire, if I want to retire by 40 or 50 or 60, it's like, you need at least $3 million. Like, that's like the minimum you need. So $1 million ain't nothing anymore.
I agree. And if you walk down the street though and just ask someone, and they're part of the 90% that has no retirement plan, you say, "Hey, how much do you need to retire?" What do they say?
They're like, oh, about $1 million.
About $1 million. Still about $1 million, really accounting for inflation there.
And it's never dollars. It's bucks, buckaroos, greenbacks. It's like you can almost tell how they address money. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Yeah. So strategy is not really the problem. But here's what strategy does. Strategy causes shiny object syndrome. We see it, it grabs our attention. We know that it would help us. And sometimes we even buy it with very little effort or plan to initiate activity on that strategy. So really, the problem sits deeper than strategy. Now, this problem, the 3S problem that we're discussing, really goes strategy, story, then state. That's most people's framework for activity and growth. So in other words, they put the strategy first, shiny object first, then they mind the story that they tell themselves, which, as we say, the words I am are the two most powerful words in the English language.
100,000%.
Right? Whatever follows is. So we put story as a second priority, and lastly, state management. State management in this moment. How are we managing our emotions? How are we managing our thoughts? And how are we managing our activity to work towards that strategy?
Can I touch on something just for a quick moment?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the thing is how to manage your thoughts, how to manage your emotions. And I know this wasn't where we were planning on going to it, but I feel like it's valuable enough add. So many people say, I need to change my habits, or I need to change my actions. It's actually simpler than that. If you change your thoughts, your words as a result will change. When your words change, your actions change. When your actions change, your life changes. So sometimes just having the ability of saying, I'm going to look at a problem in a different lens, or I'm going to respond to a problem in a different way, could lead to a different outcome. So when people want to grow and improve, it starts here.
And you know what? I'm going to challenge that as well, because sometimes this is difficult to control. And when that happens, you can lead with activity, but it's got to be simple activity. It's got to be like, go for a run now, or just start a task now. And the mind will follow too. So a little complexity to that one, little adder. But anyways, so the point is the problem of the 3S is we've got it backwards. The reality is that state comes first. Because if we can, just like we spoke about, manage our activity in this moment, so manage our minds, so manage what we're doing right now, being present. Like, did you realize people only spend on average 20% of their energy in the present?
It would make sense. I'm actually amazed at only 20%. I mean, really, that sounds like a lot when you understand how some people think, because there's so much background noise. Like, when do I get home from my kids? What are we cooking for dinner tonight? What's going to happen tonight? When's the checks coming in for? Like, there's so much takes your time that it's so hard to be here and to be now.
Yeah. It's just resulting in decision fatigue. Increased anxiety, increased depression. Yet the 80-20 rule applies. 80% of your results are driven from that 20% that you spend in the present. So state management really is first. What I do in this moment matters more than anything else, more than the next strategy. And second to that is that story. If we control those I ams and keep from filling our heads with, I am not good enough, I am priced too high, I am stupid, I can't do this. Those are all devastating things to say. And you're manifesting the I can'ts, the I won'ts. And you'll never get any strategy you put in front of yourself with that story before it.
You know, you actually say something that really resonates with me, and I feel like it ties into here. It's all the thoughts that you have become inputs, right? And the inputs is a constant string of chains of thoughts, almost like a binary code.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if we don't intentionally think, the thoughts will happen automatically. And I want to manually make sure that I'm thinking the right things rather than automatically thinking the wrong. So that as we change our inputs enough, eventually the outputs become what we want and they become automatic.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now that we have a general lay of the land on where strategy fits, now you can truly join us in understanding why we give so much of it away, right? There's literally a value volcano of information on the inside at Service Loop Electrical in our coaching, in the inside track where our clients are. It takes articulation of goals, right? And a framework of accountability and activity to realize wins. That's all about that story and the state management. So we know there's so many strategies out there. In fact, in the words of someone today who said, well, you know, so much is just regurgitated and forced onto people. Like there's this predatory thing that happens in our industry where coaches and consultants and training academies, whatever, like they rope you in, was almost the context of the message we received.
Yeah.
So today, I really want to highlight how we're opposite of that and just give you guys the keys to this thing. So we literally, Joseph and I talk about this, what we did when we opened this, Electricprenuer Secrets and Service Loop Electrical as a partnership, we decided what we're truly opening is a bank, a value bank. Do you remember this conversation?
I do. And it's one of those things that I always feel it's so valuable because this bank, the vault was bursting at the door. But we knew that if we just opened it and flooded everything out, people were going to get overwhelmed. So that's why we had to drip it.
100%. So why people come to our bank? Because they're electricians. We opened a bank for specifically electricians with just electrical value pieces and nothing else. We've turned down work from garage doors, from HVAC, from plumbers, from you name it, constantly coming back to our bank's vision and mission and saying, it's for electricians. It has to be. We have to stay on and in our lane. That's what makes it a powerful place to do business. So when people come to our group, just like you are, when they come to our podcast and listen, as far as we're concerned, right now you're standing in our bank. And it's not our mission to make a withdrawal, quite the opposite.
We want to make deposits.
As we've discussed, is like every person who's standing in here listening that doesn't have an activity yet is almost like loitering in the bank. They're standing there without direction. Loitering is not the right term.
Yeah, loitering is like the riffraff that's hanging out begging for change outside the bank. Yeah, we want to pretty much. We've got someone meandering. They're inside. They're wandering around. They're looking lost. They're sitting by the coffee machine. They're trying to figure out where the check station is, and they're like, "Where do I go?
What am I doing here? How do you guys help me?"
Yeah, would it be wrong of us to at very least go to that person and say, "Hey, I see that you're standing around, but clearly you're in a bank. So unless you got mistaken and thought this was a dry cleaners, how can I help you?"
100%. And that's the beautiful piece. That's where, honestly, 50-60% of our efforts on this mission exist in just getting people to the bank lineup. And to continue the metaphor, then our mission is to open an account for you and make a deposit. That's why we give the action items every day. That's us making a deposit. And what we want you to do is take those deposits, take these strategies that we give away every Wednesday, take this objection handle and go win with it. And come back and tell us how you realize the value of the deposit we gave you. And then what happens is magical. Would you say at that moment that someone knows us?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do they like us at that point?
I mean, wouldn't you like someone that gave you information for free that made you money? That guy'd be my best friend.
And does that mean that they would trust us and our strategy at that point as well?
It would be a no-brainer because if you gave me free information, I took action on the information like you told me to, that information worked like you told me it was going to, I've got no reason not to trust you. What maliciousness is there?
And what was the risk in this entire process?
Actually, scratch that. I'd say normally there's 0% risk. But I'd be willing to say there's a 0.5% chance because there is always going to be that one person that asks for the value piece, takes no action on it, and says, "You were just trying to sell me something."
Yeah, or I mean, ultimately, time. But for the most part, these value pieces that are proven to work might just end up sitting for a while.
Yeah.
because we get busy, because everyone has the 3S problem,
Mm-hmm.
because we love the strategy, right? We see it go by, it's on your feed, it's in our groups. We want you to see it because we want to make a deposit, because that's how we change this. That's how we help everyone rise. And the beautiful thing is that once you realize the value of that deposit, then it's a decision tree. You're either going to come back and say, wow, guys, this was incredible. How do I get on the inside track? And we take you on a free call and we show you what the inside track looks like and make an offer only if you ask for it.
That's actually the best part about it. Literally, there's a lot of people out there. It's a lot of people. And, everyone has different strategies and different styles. But the one thing that I feel makes us different is that we won't force anything on someone that doesn't truly want it. If you want what we have, the door is open. You simply just need to walk in and say, hey, I'd like to make a deposit at the bank. I'd like to make a withdrawal at the bank. It doesn't matter, but show up at the bank and we'll take care of the rest.
It's an incredible thing. So we didn't just learn this overnight either. This is the result of, I'm about $250,000 invested in coaching, in understanding business from my early failures, which you guys would have heard on my interview, right? Joseph's the same, 7 years of coaching, and then a few years of coaching investments prior. I should let you speak to your own experiences, but I'm on a rant here. Right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in learning how to do business right. Now, we're not standing on top of a hill. We're trying to serve at the highest level from behind the counter of a bank to just help you realize little nuggets from all that value. And one of the greatest realizations and why I got on this rant was one of my first coaches in this space to help me take this practice in social media, helped me understand how to sell with the law of reciprocity, helped me understand this value bank concept. And our current coaches continue with it as well. It's a common theme because as we did a podcast before, they're catching on to us.
That was a fun one.
The reality is it's no secret. Marketing's everywhere. Ads are everywhere. The chances are that in clicking to get to us today, you probably saw 3 to 5 ads. That's crazy. We're all distracted something like 3,000 times a day.
It's amazing how someone could even track that. Like if you think about it and say like, almost like there's a guy with a little clicker standing over you. And it's like, oh, you looked at Facebook, click, look at it again, click, click. It's like, all right, how did they come up with that number? But it's true. I don't doubt the number. It just makes you wonder, how did they come up with it?
Yep. I wondered the same, but I read it and I believed it so quickly that it was like, you know what? I've got no reason to challenge this thing. Thousands of times, right? And if you think about it, we all have a smartphone. Email started because we needed to communicate better, faster. Who's freaking inundated with emails and not even checking them all right now? Right? Every person I know. We got cell phones so we could talk, right? It's same thing. We keep moving technology ahead and then realizing this is too much. Move it ahead, it's too much. I probably check my smartphone 800 times a day.
It's actually really unfortunate because I have a program on my phone that tells you how many hours of straight screen time you did. And it's like, you have 5.5 cumulative hours of screen time. It's like, oh God, it's like, I gotta get off my phone.
All right. So jumping back, guys, we're explaining to you exactly how this business model works. So literally what happens then is, and this exists in many businesses, it's just our chosen model. We call it an ascension ladder or a value ladder. We're constantly graduating our lifetime clients up this ladder. And it's by value. So you come here, you take something for free, you get a win. If you brought it back to us, that means, hey, we've got a mutual relationship here. So we make an offer, you come in at the bronze level maybe, right? You see some wins from the inside track, then you upgrade to silver to get more of our time one-to-one. Then you upgrade to gold to get your own custom program built in your business. It just keeps going up and up. And in doing that, most people say it's a funnel and it's falling down. The way we do this is by, funneling to qualify, but also building a value ascension ladder up after that. So we never have clients really wondering where they are in the hierarchy either. They understand their value and we understand their value to us. It's a mutual symbiotic relationship and it's a beautiful thing. And anyone can implement this in their business. We're not going to have time to dive fully into how to do it for your business today, but just understanding the concept is the first step to this.
I feel like you're on a roll. I absolutely love everything you're saying.
Okay, great. So here's where it comes into Problemville. Is you adopt a business model such as ours with the Ascension model, with so much going away for free, you have to constantly monitor where your time and energy is spent. And that brings us to ask holes.
Oh yeah, ask holes are one of those situations where, you remember how we mentioned that there's like the bank where we're in? The ask hole is the person who comes in, takes the free sample, and then doesn't use it, doesn't take action on it, but then is there right next week to ask for another value piece. It's like our goal is to create value pieces so that you use them because we want your lives to be better. And we know, I mean, either Clay or myself have walked these paths. We're not telling you these advices because we just think they'll work. We know they'll work. The only condition is you need to take action on it. So imagine this. If you're constantly asking for the value piece, but never taking action on it, does that make us, the coaches, more or less likely to want to invest in your request?
Yeah, it puts us in an awkward place because listen, if we're constantly having a weekly engagement and we're giving you value pieces, then all we want is that reciprocity of knowing if it's working, of knowing how you implement it. I don't care even if you buy. We've got many clients that have been following me or you or hanging around that have become friends for a year, 2 years, just following our efforts on social media. And that's fine. And if you're one of those people, I love you and you know who you are. That's awesome. But an asshole will also be someone who takes and clearly has no intent to give back in any way, shape, or form. So if you're not contributing to the win wall and you keep taking, right? You keep taking and not taking action, or you take and then really don't converse, don't let us know how it's going, don't talk to us about the uses of it, then that is what we would consider an asshole. And what that means is it's taking, not giving, which is just a one-way street, right? And that won't help the tide rise for this industry. It won't help fulfill the vision and the mission of what we're aiming to achieve here.
Yeah. And the thing is, there are so many ways out of being an asshole. Like there are so many ways. Like even if you didn't use it yourself, let's say, sake of argument, I'm going to create a perfect scenario. Let's say someone asked for a value piece. We sent the value piece. They never even responded, never took action, they just left us on red, took the value piece and left us on red. I would still be okay with it if they took that information and said, hey, I know an electrician that could really use this. I'm going to share it with him. I won't do nothing with it, but I'll share it with someone. Even that would be welcome. But just let us know what the result was. Let us know so that we can help you.
I agree. It's so important because again, we're trying to help you master sales, simplify pricing, deliver premium level service, creating a massive movement behind this. We won't rest until it's done. So what the asshole really does is just take away from those who take it seriously, right? And if there's no intent to use, no intent to contribute to that cause, then it just becomes a void of energy and time. And that's why we have to stand against some things, just like price books. Assholes are right there with them. What else do we have for today? Was there anything else we missed here?
Nothing that we missed. I mean, I feel like we've gone to the full session at this point, and anything more is going to stretch it. But I definitely think there are some action items and all-star actions that we can offer on this.
Let's do it.
All right. So the action item is this. When you see a value post, the bare minimum is put your hand up. The reason why is even if you ghost us, even if you ignore us, Clay and I are committed to helping every electrician in North America. We will be behind the windshield of every one of you because that is our purpose. That is our mission. That is why we are here. So if the bare minimum action is just put your hand up, you'll get something of value. But that won't make you an all-star. That just means you've got your own deposited bank that you're never opening. The all-star does two things. The all-star not only takes action on it and implements it, but then goes further and says, you know what? I think there's someone else that could use this. The all-star says, wow, that was a great nugget. Let me share that with other electricians, even if they're not competitors, other states, other countries. But someone who says, you know what? I learned something and I'm going to share it with my team. That is the kind of person that rises the tide with us, not as just a buoy that's just floating around, not doing nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And good metaphor. And guys, if you're wondering where to engage with us, again, on the inside, you could be with us, joining us live 5 days a week in our Facebook group, Electricprenuer Secrets, the Electrician Podcast Community. You can search any of those things. Our website will be up very soon, and that will help guide this. But in addition to that, Joseph brings some really valid points to the table, and that is about spreading the message, because our intention is to get behind the windshield of every van, in the headset of every electrician at the gym, and in the office of every business that has one. We want to build this up, and we do want your help with that. So we're also going to be implementing a bit of a program, a bit of a challenge within our Electricprenuer Secrets group, where those who engage the most, have the greatest attendance, and invite the most people will be able to earn prizes with us, such as free coaching and looks on the inside without any payment at all. So if that's something you might be interested in, you can let us know there as well, and keep showing up, and we'll be sure to drop more details on that very soon.
Sounds like a solid plan. Can't wait to start seeing it.
All right. As always, I'm Clay Newmeyer. This is Joseph Lucani. We're here to help you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level service. We cannot wait to see you guys rise. Hope the look on the inside helps you and gets you thinking a little bit about your growth in your own business. We'll see you again next time.